This is a short video to outline the more academic aspects of feminist video game criticism. Everybody that has a video about Anita Sarkeesian, and especially the last one, was about butts. What goes unnoticed by these critics on both sides is that marketing of video games, and any other product, is focused towards both genders irrespective of content. Gender studies is considered sociology, but even that is a stretch. But the type of marketing psychology that is used in video games is not social. Sociology is completely financed by government, but marketing psychology is completely financed by the private sector. This type of psychology is extremely hard to find and pay for because it is radically expensive and is usually not advertised like other sciences, because it does not need to be marketed, because marketers or distributors come looking for it to find ways to market and to bend people's minds into playing their computer games and buying their products. If you were to blame anybody for this type of behavior, you have to blame the private sector exclusively. I can not only back up this claim, but prove that video games are geared by marketing psychology toward both sexes and can eliminate the academic gaping hole in people's understanding of media sales. It is the practice of business not to inform its consumers that it is trying to, as close as possible, control consumers' minds. If marketing sectors had a system or compound that controlled consumers' minds, literally they would use it, which demonstrates how little gender means to them. Marketing is not skewed to one gender exclusively, but in a gradient from most likely to least likely consumer, but cater for as many as possible. Even hypersexualized female bodies and characters are designed to cater to women, for God forbid that gender studies would ever admit that women have fantasies about being idealistically beautiful. Usually this assumption of exclusive gender marketing of feminist critics and their opposition's logic, the topic of the video by Anita Sarkeesian and Thunderfoot, is a massive misnomer. This assumption by both parties shows the extent of acceptance of narrative over reality even in opposition to feminism. It is marketing psychology 101, do not assume consumer gender, and include as much marketing diversity as they can. I don't know how educated people miss this. Reference 2 to 4. I will make this as easy as I can to understand. Butts and breasts for men. Arms and chests for women. In equal measure. Reference 3, 7 and 8. Chest and shoulder are accentuated for women. Butt and breasts for men. Reference 7. It is easier to understand in this way, and marketing psychology with its consumers prefer that you don't know this. This is why marketing psychology more often than not are not only funded privately, but are not normally shared or are behind a very expensive paywall. I encourage people to research this themselves because it takes personal enlightenment to truly understand the massive amount of money and coercion involved. This is not by definition a conspiracy, it just is sensible business practice that most consumers should be aware of. If you have read the articles that have been released to back up Anita Sarkeesian's claims, you will find that they are flimsy and are made up to be marketed themselves to a consumer to make money, and of deeply flawed methodology, and are, in fact, ignorant or intentionally don't include marketing psychology, because it is using marketing psychology to sell academically dishonest paper to fleece gender studies proponents of their money. Therefore, 2 of these articles don't even use correct experimental measure, and don't even measure what report. 3 of the articles only measure sexual arousal after playing highly sexualized game, and completely miss the fact that a psychological term, converging values in differing sexual behavior, has already been debunked in 2004. Reference 1, 2, 3, 7 and 8. Watching porn and getting aroused does not make you sexist. Reference 1 to 12. It is insulting and completely embarrassing that any journal with any process of peer review would print these articles, as they do not meet the basic requirements of fact-checking. The faults are that obvious. Reference 1 for men, reference 2 for women. For both reference 14, which will be shown in comparative examples now. Example 1. You can't say that an engorged red buttocks on male baboons make female baboons sexist. Or, example 2, watching porn makes human females sexist. These articles do exactly this in their conclusions and methodology. Sex in video games is a marketing ploy for both sexes, like I said in the first statement. Marketing does the best they can to accommodate any outcome a consumer may desire. This may be an unattractive woman that has a psychological fantasy need to play a sexy female character in a video game. Or on the other hand, males desire to be an attractive woman in a virtual world that they can't be in real life. An overweight gamer who wishes to feel masculine definition, attractiveness to females and the fantasy of strength which they lack in real life. The simple and affordable way for trans women to play a masculine role in fantasy. Once you know this, you can see how creepy it is that video game marketers prey on disempowerment to sell products. But you must keep in mind that it serves a purpose for females and males that provides a virtual and fantasy situation that they desperately need in their life. Once you understand this, you can see that hypersexualized female bodies in video games is by definition empowerment for women, psychological comfort for trans people, and are not there exclusively of sex objects, but gender empowerment for both sexes, despite stereotypical beliefs. Conclusions. Sexual arousal does not increase sexism. Being a sexually aroused person is a normal biological function and is necessary for perpetuation of the species through reproduction, not a conspiracy, but the empowerment of an individual to be who they are inside, not on the outside. Though marketing in video games is geared towards taking advantage of the weakness of human fantasy, to sell video games is morally suspect, but is also effectively feeding a basic human need for both sexes, and even trans people alike. None of the articles supplied by Anita Sarkeesian deal with this as a subject, and they have cherry-picked belief system, which is unscientific, but they are shamelessly obviously so, designed to sell journal articles to a naive, unsuspecting consumer that does not have an academic background, making these articles more shameful exploitation of the consumer than the video games they criticize. End communication.